Hey, I'm Melanie King from the Absolute Recap, and today's video we're going to recap the entire AP Bio curriculum. That's right, all 8 units from start to finish with the top terms, concepts, and equations that you need to remember for the exam in May. If you find this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Let's zoom out. The goal of this video is to help you tell the difference between the things you remember and the things you don't. Emergency room doctors don't see patients in the order they arrive, and you shouldn't study in the order that you first learn things. Just like doctors, we need to survey the scene and bump things that are most urgently in need of our attention to the top of the list. This process is called triage. We're going to do this with the main AP Bio concepts so you can figure out what you need to study first. Before we start, print out the speed review document linked for free in the description below and get ready to color code like a stoplight as you follow along. Here's how the stoplight method works. Mark the topic box green if you absolutely remember and can think of additional information that I don't give you. Color it in yellow if the concept sounds familiar to you, but the terms aren't coming to the tip of your tongue. And red. This is reserved for, what is she talking about? I never learned this. As the clock winds down for AP prep, study what's red first, yellow second, and skip the green. You already know it. If you're looking for additional study resources to dive deeper into these concepts you've marked red, I've linked our podcast, study guides, and the AP Biology Ultimate Review Packet with full-length practice tests in the description below. Okay, let's zoom in. Unit 1, Chemistry of Life. It all starts with water, the polar molecule of H2O that forms hydrogen bonds. And it's this bonding ability that gives water nearly every property it has. Cohesion, adhesion, surface tension, high specific heat, and the universal solvent. Unit 1 also includes the most common elements: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. We find these in our 4 categories of biological molecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Carbs have a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio of carbon, hydrogen to oxygen and form rings or long chains. Their monomers often end in OSE and function as both short and long-term energy storage as well as structural materials. Lipids are nonpolar, form hydrocarbon chains and steroid rings, and they have a hydrogen to oxygen ratio that is greater than 2 to 1. You'll find their fatty acid tails as saturated or unsaturated with hydrogens, which contributes to the fluidity of the phospholipid bilayer. Proteins are polypeptides of amino acid monomers, which bend and fold through hydrogen bonding and R group interactions. And since structure dictates function, proteins have some of the most diverse cellular roles, like enzymes, transport channels, and receptors. The rule of thumb, if a cellular job needs doing, it's probably done by a protein. The last biological molecule for the exam are nucleic acids, which are formed from nucleotide monomers. We will dive a lot deeper on DNA and RNA in Unit 6. All of these polymers are formed through dehydration synthesis and split through hydrolysis reactions. Unit 2 is cell structure and function. Cells are classified as either prokaryotic or eukaryotic, and they stay relatively small because this allows for a greater surface area to volume ratio for material exchange efficiency. You'll want to review the differences between cell types and the many examples of folding for surface area. The majority of eukaryotic organelles are membrane bound, and some are even part of the endomembrane system, like rough ER, smooth ER, and Golgi. Ribosomes are excluded from the club since they're made of rRNA and protein. And although mitochondria and chloroplasts have double membranes, they're also excluded due to their origins with the endosymbiosis theory. Unit 2 also includes types of transport, which emphasizes the concentrations of solutes, not quantities. You'll see comparative terms such as hypertonic, isotonic, and hypotonic to describe solute concentration. Active transport requires the use of ATP and moves large or charged molecules against their concentration gradient through a protein. Passive transport moves small, nonpolar molecules down their concentration gradient by diffusion or through a protein by facilitated diffusion. Water moves by osmosis, following its own concentration gradient and water potential, sometimes through an aquaporin. Remember, molecules are still in motion with isotonic solutions. There's just no net movement. You can also move larger molecules across membranes with vesicles through endo and exocytosis. Unit 3, Cellular Energetics. This unit is dense.
Wait,
That's it? Where's the rest? If you were listening to the intro of this episode, you may have noticed something different. That's right. This podcast episode is a preview of our first AP Bio Speed Review video.
The motion picture you are about to see can be called today a fantasy of the future.
You'll find us on YouTube, where I recap all 8 units in under 15 minutes, with all original diagrams and animations. Plus, you can also download the Speed Review checklist to triage your understanding as you follow along. To recap, The Absolute Recap is now on YouTube. If you find our videos helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Click the link in the episode description right now to start watching. Today's question of the day is about FRQs. True or false? FRQs 2 through 6 are worth 4 points each. For the answer to the question of the day, please follow us on Instagram at TheApsoluteRecap. That's the APsolute Recap. Check out our website, TheApsoluteRecap.com, for episode schedules, study guides, virtual tutoring, and to sign up for our virtual classroom. The Absolute Recap is produced by Brad Kingett with music by Zach Caruso. Today's episode was written by me, Melanie Kingett. Thanks for subscribing, and don't forget to rate and review wherever you get podcasts. Time's up, pencils down. Thank you for listening to the Absolute Recap Biology Edition. AP is a registered trademark of the College Board. Copyright 2020, Absolute Recap LLC, all rights reserved.